Well, hey there, it is time for Jungle Drums. I can't believe I'm actually sitting at the battle station for an hour and I'm not going to be playing Destiny 2. Um, that just seems to be the only thing that we've been playing for, how many weeks has it been now, boys?
Oh God.
We're halfway
Third
through
week.
week 3.
Yeah,
Yeah, week 3.
but the amount of hours we've dumped in has been,
I don't know what you're on about. I barely play it. I
Yeah.
don't play the time.
yeah, no, it's not, not healthy. Not healthy, but hey,
No.
you know, when you're rocking three characters with the lowest one's 300, you know, it's not bad. It's not bad. But anyway, right. So let's just get straight cracked into it, shall we? We've the last few times. I mean, last week we talked about nothing but Destiny 2. It was indeed episode 30 was a Destiny 2 overload. So we've kind of been out of the loop a little bit for our gaming and tech news. So hopefully this week we will rectify that with some little bits and bobs that caught my attention. So this first one is actually from our friends over at Windows Central, and this is about basically a back door, so to speak, that's built into Windows 10. It's something that's been around for a very long time, going all the way back to XP, and was actually a backdoor that has enabled a lot of these ransomware attacks to occur, and that is SMB version 1. So basically, SMB version 1 is a very kind of, how to put it, it's a server message block protocol, right? And basically what that means is it's a network file sharing protocol, which, you know, a protocol in the computer world is just, you know, like a language or the way how things speak. You know, your internet uses what they call the TCP/IP protocol. You know, you might have heard of an IP address. So that's how the Internet of Things works. They all speak to each other using this protocol. So anyway, this SMB that's on Windows 10 is basically supposed to be there to allow apps to read and write files, as well as to perform services or like request access to other devices on the network. So as a tool, as a service, it sounds, you know, decent enough. The problem is we don't use it. Your average home consumer does not use this feature. And the big problem is a couple of the recent ransomware attacks, including WannaCry and also Petya, both of those wreaked havoc, you know, on hundreds of thousands of PCs all over the world because of that flaw in SMB version 1. So there's a chance that maybe you're running software that requires it, which, I mean, unless you, I mean, I don't know, if you're tech support working from home, maybe if you need access to a work network or something, you know, if you're like remotely accessing an intranet, you know, a corporate intranet, then possibly you might need this. So just double check that. But honestly, most home users, you do not need this service. So the basically the website gives a nice little kind of rundown of, look, what you need to do. You need to open start, type in turn Windows features on or off, and you end up getting this window here, and you just scroll down till you find SMB 1.0/CIFS file sharing support, untick the box, click OK, and then you restart your computer. Once you've completed those steps and it's rebooted, there you go. That no longer presents a threat to your system. Allegedly, Microsoft is going to be removing the feature completely in the creators update this fall, in the autumn. But in the meantime, look, you can go ahead and disable that and it'll stop your, well, it's not going to fully stop, but at least you've removed one more way for your computer to be susceptible to ransomware attacks. Which, I mean, to be honest, you know, as long as you're being relatively using common sense on your PC, you know, you've got your firewall enabled, you're not connecting to like open Wi-Fi networks that are unsecured, and you're keeping your virus definitions up to date, you're not looking at dodgy websites, you should be okay. But those of you out there that are, you know, whether that's watching films that are technically illegal to be watched, you know, all that type of thing, it's you're really just opening yourself up for problems. So I do not recommend. But this was something that, you know, I mean, I'm fairly up to speed on most security things when it comes to PCs, and I had no idea about this myself until I read this the article just yesterday. So I did. So I know Joe, you'd went ahead and disabled that. What about yourself, Sergeant J? Are you gonna get on that?
I will get on it at some point. Some point soon.
It's just one of these things. I mean, have you seen like the pictures of how the ransomware works? Where it locks your computer out. It locks your computer and basically says, look, you need to pay us in Bitcoin to unlock it, all your files, or you don't have access to them and whatnot. It's quite nasty. Not a nice thing at all to happen to anybody.
Stuff never is, though, is it really?
No. But again, they're going to be removing it anyway. But hey, in the meantime, just do those steps, disable that thing. You probably don't need it, and you should be that a little bit safer. Right. So hey, here's something for us to really talk about, because I know that's a bit of a dry subject. That was techie. That's security. Again, that's because that's my thing. That's what I'm going to school for, is cyber security. So hence why that's pertinent to me. I find that interesting. Our next bit. Hey, Mr. Creature, how you doing? Next bit of news is from WCCF Tech, which I like their site, but as you know, sometimes you have to take things with a pinch of salt. There's a lot of rumors over at WCCF Tech, but this bit of information looks pretty good. And this is about the new Intel Core i9 7980 XE. That's the Extreme Edition, right? It's not out yet, but it's about to be coming out. And according to these leaked benchmarks, this CPU, completely destroys everything. Absolutely everything. Now, if you remember, we covered the announcement of these chips like a month or two back, I think. When was it? It was quite a few episodes back, Jay, but we were talking about these i9s. And the first batch that was coming out, I think, was only a 10 core, I believe, with hyper-threading. Only a 10 core, he says. Only. But these super high-end ones, the 7980s, if memory serves me correctly, these are going to be, they're 18 core, so 36 thread, right, which is a hell of a lot of computation power, right? These chips in US dollars are going to be 2,000 smackers. So, quite an expensive CPU, not for the faint of heart. But oh my goodness. Just looking at some of these things, if I'm trying to think of a good benchmark to pull up. I could use Prime, okay? Prime's a decent benchmark. If you're not familiar with Prime, and I don't mean Prime 95, because Prime 95 is a stress test. This is W Prime, and W Prime is a synthetic benchmark specifically made for current, current what they call x86 architecture CPUs. Most modern CPUs use that architecture. And what it does, it tests performance by calculating square roots with a recursive call of Newton's method of estimating functions, right? That's, some really nerdy math.
Where's the money, Lebowski?
That's Green Hat for Life, thank you for the tips.
Where's the fucking
Much
money,
appreciated.
shithead?
As always, you crazy man, you.
Oh, it's down there somewhere. Let me take another look.
Basically, the bigger the number, the more multi-threaded the test gets, right? So this is a test that is, the longer it goes on, the more taxing it becomes. Now we know that Threadripper is, badass, right? I mean, Threadripper is just amazing. So on these test scores, lower is better. And if I just scroll, if we look at this bottom number here, an i7 5960 Extreme Edition, which was a pretty badass chip in its day, that kind of sets a little a baseline here of 125,000. The Ryzen 7, drops to 118. As you can see, it goes down, down, down. A new i7 7820X is now underneath 100. So this is getting better. It's getting better. The Threadrippers, as you can see, the top of the line Threadripper is, just look at the difference in these numbers. you know, almost double the performance of the Ryzen 7, and then sure enough, the Extreme Edition trumps it even more. It works out to something, you know, outperforming it by about 30%. But it doesn't stop there. I mean, every single benchmark going through the tables that they've put here. I mean, here's another one where once again, this new i9 is at the top. It's just, it's crazy. I mean, all of these are synthetic benchmarks, but they're actually showing around a 20 to 30% performance increase over Threadripper, which is pretty crazy. I mean, even Cinebench, it just destroys Cinebench, something ridiculous. What was another one? 3D Mark Firestrike. This was one that got my attention, right? This is talking about the physics score, which the physics score is again heavy CPU, right? We don't care about the graphics at this point in time. And to give you an idea, you know, of a Ryzen 7 1800X gets about 19,000 ish for this, right? The Threadripper, top of the line Threadripper, gets 27,000 points, so huge upgrade there. The brand new i9, 32,000. It trumps it yet, you know, again. I think the numbers there, 17% of a difference. But even with games, they gave it a good test with, what was it? PUBG, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. And if we look here, they were using a Titan XP. And so on a brand new i7 7700K at 4.8 gig, they were getting 80 to 100 frames per second, whereas on the Ryzen 1800X 70 to 80, but on the brand new i9 110 to 140. Then likewise on the Airplane, the ranges here are ridiculous. i7 70 to 80, Ryzen 70 to 79, the new i9 90 to 210. I mean, this chip is amazing. I mean, most people are not going to need that much power, but just what you could do with it is amazing. If you think of, like, if you create video content and you need to render stuff, holy crap, this is just going to tear through it. Likewise, if you're streaming, you know, you're going to have so much headroom where you could be streaming, playing video games, rendering a video, you know, having a Skype call. It's crazy. But for $2,000, guys, just for the processor,
that's a heck of a price tag.
That's
a heck of a price tag.
You know, again, thinking of who actually needs. I mean, this is like complete EPing territory, isn't it?
Well, it pretty much is. It's that, or you've got more money than sense. One of the two.
Yeah.
I mean, at no point would I even if I had the money, to be honest with you, would look at that and go, yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, don't get me wrong, if you did have the money, you'd be looking at having a PC that would probably last you. But at the same time, if you've got the sort of money to spend on that, you'll probably buy the next line of chip that comes out anyway.
Yeah.
So that's probably not really here or there. Lower end i7s look quite decent on the price range-ish.
Oh,
but
God,
again, the top i7 is, what, $600? That's a 7820, which looks like it did pretty well in the tests again as well.
It's a bit small, but yeah, I mean, and the big story there too with the I mean, okay, these are still the 7th gen chips, but when you look at what's coming out soon, the 8th gen,
yep,
it really throws a kind of a cat amongst the pigeons for me, because you look at the new i3, and the new i3 is going to be a quad core, so the i3 might not actually be a steaming pile of crap anymore.
No.
Whereas the i5 is going to be, I'm sure, a quad core with hyper-threading, which makes the i5 a very tasty option for most people, whereas the i7 is going to be a 6-core, a hex core with hyper-threading, and that's just, I mean, that's a really nice, you know, that's a great compromise for those who, because let's be honest, most people that are creating content now, or if they're using, you know, if you're using video software, or even some of the stuff like CAD and whatnot, all these types of imaging applications, you know, Ryzen's a nice cheap kind of option for them, because you're getting that horsepower, you're getting more cores. It doesn't equate to a better gaming experience. I mean, at the minute, an i7 7700K is still technically the best processor for gaming. But when you get into all this kind of multitasking and whatnot, it kind of changes. And so what really gets me about this i9 is that it's not only outperforming everything in like the productivity side of things, but also in the gaming side. And it just, yeah, it's really, I mean, there's no way I'll ever be able to get one of these.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's really kind of got me, I mean, you know yourself, I've been kind of really quite pro AMD now for the last few months, really excited about Ryzen, really excited about Threadripper. And I was just kind of ignoring what Intel was doing. But looking at the specs of this i9, it's like, holy shit, these guys, they've taken notice, you know. Yeah, it's going to cost you, but for a 30% increase over the Threadripper, because Threadripper's not cheap either, it's a lot cheaper than that, it's half the price.
This is where AMD will make their, will keep up with those, isn't it? It's due to the price ranges.
Mm-hmm.
But again, would have Intel come out with something like this had it not been for the Threadrippers?
I'm not convinced, Jay. I'm not convinced. I think a lot of it's been, I think with Intel, I believe Intel's been very reactionary with its CPU development after the way that Ryzen's went. I mean, okay, Ryzen has not had a perfect launch. They're still working out drivers. There's still a few issues with, like, AMD uses their own version of hyper-threading called SMT, Simultaneous Multiple Threads, I think it is, or something like that. And there's a whole bunch of games out that don't recognize it. So there you go. You've got your cushy Ryzen 7 8-core with 16 threads, but the game doesn't actually recognize them all. Or even like some, not even just games, like some software, like Adobe Premiere, isn't recognizing it. I don't think Adobe Premiere is one of the programs, I'm just using it as an example, but you know, shit like that, and it's that's got to be frustrating. Which, speaking of AMD, they've actually just announced that they're working on their Gen 2s. They're going to be coming out next year of the Zen chip, which are on a thinner process. They're going to be, you know, obviously increased performance, run, you know, be cooler and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be interesting. I think we're really in this kind of we're back to the way it used to be, with Intel and AMD leapfrogging over each other, at least in the processor world. On the video card world, let's be honest, when Vega came out, it hasn't quite did what they hoped it to do, especially the way the video card prices are at the moment. You know, you can buy a Vega 64 for about the same price as a 1080, and a 1080 performs better, so why wouldn't you just go ahead and buy the 1080? You know, Nvidia, there's no pressure on them. Nothing can touch the 1080 Ti at the moment. Hence why Nvidia, there's rumors they're doing a 1070 Ti, which isn't necessary. No one needs a 1070 Ti. But again, because they're in a very relaxed position of, well, there's no real pressure on us. Screw it. Why don't we make one of these? Yeah, we'll make one of those and sell it to folk. It's a bit of a shame. But yes, the i9, which I believe this version, the 7980X, comes out, is it next month?
Well, I know the NDA gets lifted soon.
Yeah, you're right. Next week on the 25th, the NDA gets lifted. So it'll be nice to see. I want to know some of the big tech tubers that, you know, put all these chips through their.
Well, might be able to carry this on next Thursday then if it's been looked at and tested and everything.
That is good call. 25th, yeah, we should be able to do that. Hopefully, we'll have some actual, instead of leaked, we'll have actual benchmarks. So that sounds good and sounds like a plan. Right, okay, let's get off the tech then, shall we, just for a little bit. Let's talk about some gaming news. Now, this was an article that popped up on my radar, and it's about a game that actually I really want to play, and I've just never got around to getting it, because everyone has talked about this game. All of my friends and colleagues that have played it have said it's just truly an amazing experience, and that's Nier Automata. So this article's from Game Rant, and Game Rant seems to have found that, hey, a sequel to Nier Automata has potentially been outed by a job listing. So get this right. This is what happened. I mean, let's first talk about Nier Automata. Neither of you guys have played it, have you?
No, I haven't. I've heard of it. I haven't played it though.
Oh, it's PC as well, but yeah.
Yeah, well, because it's on PlayStation as well, isn't it? Or
yeah,
is it...
PlayStation.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, it's a big published by Square Enix, and it was one of 2017's biggest surprises. It seems like the game just kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, I think folk in the know knew that it was coming, but it launched at the end of February, and it beat its sales projections. You know, what they planned to sell overall, it beat those projections within the first month. People were picking this up like there was no tomorrow. And it's done really, really well. So back in May, I don't have any more up-to-date numbers, I'm afraid, but back in May, sales had exceeded 1.5 million units, which, since it came out the end of February, that's pretty damn good for a video game. So it's been rumored that, okay, look, because it's done so well, they're probably going to be working on a sequel. So nothing's officially confirmed, but they found on the web, under Square Enix's business division, there was a job position available in Business Division 6, and Division 6 has been the kind of the area that has worked on the Nier franchise. They've also worked on Dragon Quest and whatnot. But what happened was the job listing itself basically confirmed that it was Nier Automata, because there was a quote from the director, Yoko Taro, and producer Yasuki Saito, that basically gave, you know, a whole bunch of details. So this happens quite often, actually. Like, you look at, I'm sure, was it Sony or Microsoft that people knew they were working on a new console because they were hiring folk? I'm sure it was one of the consoles.
I can't actually remember. I don't remember seeing anything about that, to be fair.
It's because I just trawl through news. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I'm addicted. I like, you know,
to be fair, it probably is the case. I mean, that's a sort of thing to expect.
I could be wrong, but I'm sure it was one of the consoles that's how they knew. Oh, look, Microsoft's working on something because they've just had a bunch of job adverts for like hardware kind of stuff. You know, which, why in the hell would they be working on hardware stuff? You know, it was interesting. But yeah, so it's kind of neat. Because the thing that gets me is that, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but the team that was doing Nier Automata, they're not the exact same team, but aren't they kind of related to the folk that were working on Scalebound? You there, Kim?
Sorry, a fox in the garden has learned that if it stays in the shed, the dog can't get it, so she was going apeshit. So,
the joys of a live show.
Yeah.
Oh my. No, I was asking, do you know, is it the exact same team, or are they just kind of in the vicinity of the team, like under the same umbrella of the people that were working on Scalebound? Or is it just, am I taking this kind of out of, is it just a totally different family? Just because I saw a little bit in the article talking about the success of Nier Automata has not been lost on Platinum Games, and I just wondered, oh, do they have like some kind of relationship or something, or is it just kind of putting that in there as a matter of fact?
Well, I think Platinum worked on, you know,
So did they? Okay.
I believe they did anyway.
Oh, of course, yeah. It's a collaboration between Yoko Taro and Platinum Games. Okay.
Platinum's big thing is spectacle fighters. They like Bayonetta and of course Metal Gear Rising, stuff like that.
Of course.
That's their bread and butter, and that's what they're really good at. I mean, really good spectacle.
So it's just got to be a bit. It's got to be a bit bittersweet for them, you know, that, because I mean, you guys know Scalebound. I was super excited for. When I first saw the reveal at E3 2 years ago or 3 years ago, whatever it was, eyes were popping out of my head, and I'm still a bit salty about that never coming out. But oh well, shit happens. But yeah, so there we go. We'll have to keep an eye out for that, a potential sequel to Nier Automata. Right. Hey, do you guys like retro gaming? Do you like some old
Who
school
doesn't
stuff?
like retro gaming? They
It's,
don't make
Some
games,
of the
like,
retro
they don't make
gaming
games like they used to.
it's just quite funny. Like that whole term. One of the writers at Scholarly Gamers, the original PSP, Patrick Scott Patterson, he has a really good article up from a few weeks back, talking about that whole term and how. Wait a minute, should we even be calling it that anymore? Because is it really? It's anyway. It's a good article. But yeah, the reason I ask is because there's an article here from PC Gamer, and it's just talking about bringing all of your old CD-ROM games back to life with this. So there's a new console that's in the works, and it's called the CD Retro Gaming System. So as you can see, we don't have really too many pictures of it, I don't believe, in this. No, there's not many pictures. But basically, right, what this gaming system does, it's supposed to work with original discs for DOS, right, as well as old game consoles, including the original PlayStation, the Neo Geo, the Turbo Graphics, and that's just to name a couple. Because one of the big issues that we tend to forget about is TVs. Like, trying to actually get the necessary converters for an old console to work on a modern TV is a pain in the ass. I mean, when I was up at Insomnia the other month there, they had the retro kind of gaming area, and they had like all sorts of shit out there. Guy, it was awesome. They had Dreamcasts, they had old Nintendos, old PlayStations, all this stuff, and they had to have old CRT, the old school televisions, just for some of those consoles to work. And so this kind of the goal of this console is that, look, with modern day TVs and obviously these old consoles, quite often you need to rebuy digital versions of these classics. You can't play the old actual physical one, which, I mean, just think about it. We don't have it so much over here, but like if you were able to go to like garage sales or yard sales, these big kind of swap meets, and get a bunch of physical discs, they might be nice to have, but actually getting to play them is a bit of an irritation. So CD hopes to answer all that. And so basically it's just a startup. It's on Indiegogo, which is like Kickstarter kind of. And basically this CD system is an open source software, because it's going to use emulation in order to bring these CD games back to life. But there isn't like full details on this. We don't know what emulators it's tapping into, if it's proprietary, if it's something they've just created, or if they're going to be using things like DOSBox and Scum VM. There's no real details on it. But if you go to Indiegogo, there's a video they've got, because they're crowdfunding this project, and for an early bird price of $99, you can back the project and pre-order a CD system for yourself. But I just don't know, even like with the legality of it. Is Nintendo going to get involved, or is Nintendo one of the systems they're not going to mess with? Because you know what Nintendo's like about protecting their stuff.
Yeah, they're very heavy on it, aren't they?
I mean, only recently they came down on a modder who was making a Mario 64 multiplayer mod.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah.
To be fair, he did put up a Patreon so people could pay him for it, but he changes it somewhat.
Yeah.
You're doing it and you're making money off it.
Yeah, I expect he wasn't making royalties or anything. They might have left him alone, but if he said put a Patreon up for it, he's technically making money from the franchise. It's really his.
Because this is the thing, I'm just wondering. I mean, at a price tag of $100, I'm just wondering if that's actually a pretty good bargain, considering that now some of these old consoles are now to the point where trying to find good working ones, you can actually end up paying quite a pretty price.
You can pay a lot for working old school consoles. I mean, you can get to pretty high numbers with those.
I mean, that seems almost too good to be true. $100 for a system that's going to play, as long as you have the actual physical copies of them. Sounds neat. Pretty cool. But yeah,
it'll be interesting to see what it's like and how it works. As you say, it does seem pretty interesting.
The only thing I worry about with projects like this that are like Kickstarters, you don't know how far along they've got, and every so often you hear these horror stories where the folk kind of take the money and run.
Yep.
I think nowadays it's not as bad, but I mean, I know there's been a few like that. And again, whether these guys get shut down or not, because I think it's just a couple of blokes that have, I don't even know what country they're from. They're probably over in the States, I'd imagine. Let me have a look. Let me listen to them real quick. I'm playing the video. I'm not
When
gonna
video game developers began using CDs, it ushered in a new age of video games. There were so many classics.
Yeah, I think they're over in the States.
My friend passed, focused on simplicity and fun.
You can turn on the system, insert your original game, and it just works.
Okay, so the video's actually got a little
CD is a
bit
project to let gamers
more
enjoy
footage
any
of
CD-ROM
the
game. It's a game
how the
console and
system
media
looks. Looks
center
quite
that
slim.
can play titles from multiple systems of the past, focused on simplicity and fun.
You can turn
Of
on
course,
the
I'm
system,
allowed to show
insert
this
your
video
original
thanks
game,
to
and
fair
it just
usage.
works.
CD
That
can play
huge
games from
class
PlayStation
action
1,
lawsuit that
Neo
was
Geo
won
CD,
not that long ago.
TurboGrafx CD, DOS, and more.
About
You can
fair
play
usage
imports,
of other
use
people's
wireless
YouTube
controllers,
videos.
and it all looks great on your
Was that
modern
H3
HDMI TV.
Productions?
Drag and drop your old archive games, and CD
It
lets
does
you
mean
browse through and play.
transformative, though.
Yes.
Get
Yes.
the details. Means if you give your own commentary on it, it's fine.
Yeah, and you know, so that was it. I mean, but the whole kind of use of fair usage. I mean, just having like a little kind of, since that's what we're talking about. We like one of the big things is with specifically with like news type of podcasty type content. It's ideal. Like we, I think there was another channel that brought it up or whatever. Where yes, sure enough, you can, as long as you're not like showing too much of it or whatever, but as long as you're like clipping from other stuff on YouTube, as long as it's in the context of what you're talking about and you're adding your own kind of insight to it, which is exactly what we were doing.
As long as it's not all just essentially a re-upload,
Exactly.
which you wouldn't do.
Of course not. But no, it's quite interesting. I don't know if we'll get it over here. I'll have to check that maybe later. Look at their. Might have a quick peek
with
at their.
emulation, there's a whole legal minefield importing it. Yeah.
Oh, here we go. I'm pulling up their Indiegogo page just to have a look. So sure enough, the team is based out of Philadelphia in the US. They've raised a total of $10,850 by 79 backers. They have a goal of 50,000. Looks, yeah. Game console, discs from PlayStation 1, Neo Geo CD, TurboGrafx CD, Sega CD, DOS PC, and more. If you give them $25, they send you a sticker. That's cool. So there you go. You don't want the console, you just want the sticker. The early birds are sold out. Oh. They've got to buy your own controller system, though. But then even their... Yeah, so the full thing with a wireless controller, which I think is just a PS3 controller. $125. Home media center. Yeah, it doesn't look like a bad piece of kit, to be honest. Oh, a limited edition one.
Depending what you emulate. Be quite an affordable option, really.
Play CD games. PSX, TurboGrafx, Neo Geo, Sega CD, Play ROMs, NES, Sega Genesis, MAME, so the arcade stuff, the original Game Boy, the Color, the Game Boy Advance, Atari 2600, TurboGrafx 16, and then if you get a retroed adapter, you can play cartridge games using, for the Genesis, the Game Boy, multimedia, oh, it's a DVD player in 2017. Awesome. Play media from a NAS.
I still have DVDs.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's just me being a friggin' snob, tech snob.
That's what I have on DVD, that's all.
1080p. Yeah, no, that sounds interesting. Again, not something that I'm necessarily going to try to get, but I want to keep an eye on it. I want to see how that goes, because this whole ability to play Nintendo stuff, surely that's going to get chapped on the head, so to speak. Surely Nintendo's going to be like, whoa, 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 whoa. But then again, if they don't offer you the hardware to buy, and you can still purchase these games, because again, Insomnia, they had NES cartridges and original Game Boy cartridges available for people to purchase, so I suppose if a hardware manufacturer wants to make a piece of hardware that isn't necessarily allowing people to play, you know, illegal stuff. You know, they can actually do the physicals, and I don't know. We'll see how that turns out. It'll be interesting to find out. Right, back to WCCF Tech. Another bit of gaming news from them, and this is a game that I admittedly had never heard of. I was just I was browsing through news and saw this game called Iron Sight. And so Iron Sight is a free-to-play military FPS, and it's supposed to be launching early next year. And I was like, okay, so what's this all about? And so basically, it's made by a Korean studio called Whipple Games, and it's going to be coming out in Western countries for Windows PC in early 2018. A closed beta test is going to begin in November, and you can go ahead and sign up for it at their official website. And just reading a little bit about this, I mean, they're talking about, okay, multiplayer action, you pick a side, you fight for Earth's last remaining resources. It's allegedly a stunning modern game with high-end visuals and complete compatibility across PC systems. You know, that's just a nice way of saying it should work regardless of your hardware. Over 14 unique battlefields, over 100 different weapons, sniper rifles, shotguns, assault rifles, SMGs, unlock weapon and character skins, drones, baby drones, operate drones, oh yeah, drones, baby drones. I thought it was like baby drones. I was like, what is a baby? Like a drone that looks like a baby? Or like a really small drone?
I thought that the exact same time I read that part. I just read it as drones and then baby and then drones. I'm like, why are they including babies?
Little 40k cherub servitors.
Yeah, just floating around. Operate drones to drop napalm and EMP explosives and use various other tactical gadgets to pierce through the enemy's defenses to protect your position. Teamwork is key. Join a clan and play competitive or co-op matches with your friends. Sounds interesting. And there's a tiny little trailer that, if I just pull it up,
looks quite good from that trailer.
Let's just have a quick little peek. Obviously not too much of it. But so a futuristic military shooter.
Very much so looks like the advanced and Infinite Warfare versions of COD.
It does. It does.
With a little bit of, I'd say a little bit of Titanfall in there, because there was at one point like two little mini mechs fighting each other. But to be fair, it's free to play, isn't it? Because I'm actually tempted to pick it up. It actually looks quite good from what I saw from the trailer.
You're absolutely right. That's what's got my attention. When I looked at it and I looked at the graphics, I thought it looks good, but not top tier. You know what I mean? Like some of the kind of textures and stuff. But again, it's early days. I mean, we're talking about the beta won't be till late this year. But when I looked at it and then was like, but wait a minute, we're talking about a free-to-play game. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to give that a punt. Well, if I have the time when that time comes. But
do actually have a look. Was it PC or is it consoles as well?
PC. Excuse me.
I think I'll still get it anyway. Have a look at it because it does look good from what I've seen.
Yeah, no, it sounds it's more what the actual studio claims is that it's more than a first-person shooter, and it offers many different tactical aspects. What are they saying? That's really about just a bunch of PR kind of fluff.
Yeah.
But yeah, hey, free-to-play military FPS Iron Sight. Keep it on your radar. You can go to their official website, which is ironsightgame.com. And you can sign up for the closed beta test, which will begin in November. So I think we'll have to do that one. If anything, there'll be a content drought in Destiny 2, surely. Surely, come November, we'll be actually playing other stuff.
Where's the link for the... Oh, there you go.
What, the beta?
Yeah,
just Iron Sight Game.
Does look really good.
.com. Which, funnily enough, speaking of Destiny 2, see, we couldn't go a week without sliding something about Destiny 2 in there. I came across this today, and this was over at GameSpot, and this was a full kind of Destiny 2 PC guide. And so what they've got it titled is, look, Destiny 2 PC guide, release date, spec requirements, and everything else you need to know. One of my classmates is actually looking forward to Destiny 2. He had it in his head, you guys will laugh, he thought it was coming out like next week on PC. He had that in his head, it was like the 20-something September, and I'm looking at him, I'm like, no, try October, bud. He's like, what? No, I'm sure I saw somewhere. I'm like, no. You know, us console folk, I say console folk, we've all got PCs, but you know, for those of us that play it on console, you know, we forget that the poor people on PC, they're gonna have to wait till October 24th, but it's gonna be worth the wait if we're honest. I mean, I hope it is gonna be as good as it has the potential to be. We know graphically it's amazing because we've seen videos and whatnot of it performing at 4K, and it does look brilliant. But it was quite interesting, just their specs. They've got, you know, what they're saying the minimum specs are, so you know, like an i3 with at least a GTX 660, whereas their recommended specs are like a second gen i5 with a GTX 970, which is quite a jump there. But then what got me, were you able to translate this, Jay? How it's got the upgrading minimum specs and upgrading recommended specs?
We blow it up.
Because I was trying to think if the first ones were what Bungie said, but then the next ones is what GameSpot are saying.
It might be, or it might just be if you want to sort of put a bit more power into it. So what we recommend you to upgrade to if you really want to get the full sort of blown experience out of it.
Yeah, I
so yeah, you probably are partly right there for GameSpot having put their own sort of version on it. I mean, you look at compared to what the Bungie system specs are using, it's a bit of a laugh almost to see the recommended specs compared to that.
Yeah, I mean, an i3 and a GTX 660, that's it's just going to be potato. It's not going to, I wouldn't have thought that was going to look good. But what is interesting is all of the features you get in Destiny 2. I mean, think about your resolution, right? All sorts of different types, including the super ultra wide screen support. You can go all the way up to 4K. You can turn on VSync for 30 FPS, 60 FPS, or say, nope, forget VSync, have it uncapped, so whatever your hardware can run it at. You can change the field of view, FOV, from 55 to 105. That gets me interested. I'd be interested to see how Destiny looks with, you know, a different field of view. All the kind of graphical stuff you can imagine, anti-aliasing, your ambient occlusion, shadow quality, depth of field, motion blur, high dynamic range as long as you've got a monitor that supports it. Film grain is just, it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be glorious to see. I'm hoping that one of my classmates, the one with the 1080 Ti, that he gets it, and I'll try to go over to his house and check it out.
I think it's part of me still wants to potentially get it, but I know again I'll be spoiled and I'll be sitting there going back to my Xbox where all my stuff is and be like, ugh.
Yeah, I think, and that brings up a really good point, is that at this point in time, you know, you're starting from scratch on PC. If later down the line they allow us to import, or even to have, I mean, could you think how cool that would be if you could, like, say we raid as a group on the Xbox, but then every so often, you know, like, we could still go do stuff on PC if we wanted to. That's where I'd like to be at, rather than this whole separate entity. But I don't know if we'd actually ever get there.
I don't think multiplayer or anything like that will happen. Just down to the.
I know Deej said, "Oh no, yeah, it's a conversation, and it's a conversation we're still happening, that's still occurring, rather." But you know, whether or not it does, because other games have done it. Where Smite allowed you to import, Warframe allowed you to import.
Smite and Warframe temporary though.
True. It was only for a limited amount of time. But we'll see. We will see. But yeah, Destiny 2, October 24th for our PC gamers out there. Of course, keep in mind Destiny 2 uses Blizzard Battle.net, which that's funny how, because it was Battle.net, then they were changing it back to Blizzard, and now they've changed their mind again and we're back to Battle.net. Is that right?
They realised even in Turner they kept calling it Battle.net.
It's just been around for that long that it's hard to try to implement a change like that.
Use the new name.
Oh my!
That's how you know it was not successful.
No, but yeah, no, Destiny 2 on PC looks like it'll be quite interesting. I'm really interested in all the other things, the text chat and whatnot. I want to see how that dynamic's going to change the game. As far as people, are we going to see? Is it going to be like Baron's chat in World of Warcraft? Is that basically what we're going to be seeing? Is it going to be trade chat but in Destiny? You go to the tower and it's just trolling. Are we going to get silver sellers?
You might do.
Discounted silver sellers.
It'll be people selling their services to boost you through trials or take your account through trials or raids or nightfalls or.
You are so right. Yeah.
So you want to sell trial carries, want to sell raid carries, give account info more, give it to you 2 hours later.
Take you through Prestige Raid for, half a dozen CSGO knife skins or some crap.
It'll be currency that's got no relation to Destiny.
Yeah.
It'll be like we'll sell trials boost for WoW Gold. What? Yeah, no.
WoW token.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, to be fair, considering what WoW tokens are, that could well be a thing.
Could be. Very well could be. Right, well, I'll tell you what, I think we shall call that an evening, gentlemen. A little bit of gaming stuff, quite a bit of tech stuff. Not a bad mix there. We need to. I feel, and this is just my opinion, that in the past months there was all these things we're waiting on coming out, and it just felt like there was a whole bunch of stuff to really kind of get into. And I just feel like the last couple of weeks, with all the AMD stuff's already kind of came out, and Destiny 2, the big game releases. I mean, the only ones that are really on they're upcoming is Shadow of War, which, I know we were all excited about it. And exactly, the more you see it,
douchebaggery,
yeah, the microtransactions, all that kind of stuff. I'm excited for Forza 7, but again, I know that's kind of a niche thing. Not everyone's into the hardcore racing kind of simulators.
I like Forza.
When's that out again?
Is that the beginning of next month? It's before the 1X launches.
But it's got, isn't it? Is it got the 1X proper support there for it?
Yes, it runs at 4K 60 frames on the 1X.
That's gonna look nice. That is. I'll probably get Forza just for that reason.
Yeah. I was looking at 60-inch 4K HDR TVs the other day.
At your price range.
They're coming down, but I mean, I think it was for a 60-inch. I think there was an LG. I think was still around 700 or so. So it's still a bit, I think if I can get a 4K TV in the size we want with HDR, with one that's going to actually be good for gaming, because this is the other thing. If you spring all that money on a TV and you're getting motion blur and whatnot, how gutted would you be?
Pretty good. Right?
So you have to, unfortunately, and it pains me to say it, you've got to spend the money to get, because otherwise you'll be pissed. You'll spend 500 quid and you'll just be not blown away. You'll it looks pretty, but then the minute you're moving and, or if the blacks aren't right, it just, because you can get a cheap 4K TV, but it's not going to have HDR. It's not going to have certain things. So no, I'm very, very curious. I want to, not anytime soon, but we'll definitely be looking at one for later on, maybe after Christmas, after the new year. Have a little look and see what we can do. Because I know, I think she still wants to put a TV in the bedroom, so we're thinking the one that's in my stepdaughter's room is going to go into our bedroom, then the one that's in the living room will go to the stepdaughter's room, and then the big fancy new 4K TV will go in the living room. Something along those lines. But yeah, 1X, we're getting there. Not too long.
Not too long.
Not too long. What,
That lovely Project Scorpio.
was it 7 weeks or something? Is it
I don't.
7
I'm kind of not holding out on the counting. I'm just gonna wait, and then one day it'll just be there, and I'll be like, ah.
Yeah, well, as long as the money's in your bank.
I'll make sure that money. I'll make sure that money's in that bank. I'll go to a street corner if I have to.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, gents, right, let's call that an evening. I can go ahead and get this video processing and all that. Remember, hey, if you stop by this evening to watch us live, thank you so much. It's much appreciated. Green Hat for life, thank you for the tip. It's always puts a smile on my face, you crazy bastard. Tipping a quid here and there. If you're not watching us live, chances are you're watching us either directly on YouTube or at scholarlygamers.com, your source for just an amazing selection of articles. We try to push one out at least one a day. Lately, things have been a little bit slow because we've got a lot of things going on. Folk are back at school and people are busy at work and everything. But hey, we've got content coming your way, and there's going to be more video content in the future as well, hopefully. But so hey, check us out at scholarlygamers.com. Again, thank you so much for watching. Jay Gimboyd, thank you so much for hosting with me, gentlemen. Always appreciated.
No problemo.
And I think we've got some fish to fry in Destiny too, do we not? We got to do some stuff.
I'm still 2 Nightfalls short of a full spread of 3, so.
Yeah, okay. Well, guys, I will see you in Destiny then. In the meantime, take it easy. Hey, everyone, thanks for watching. We will catch you next week. Same channel, same time, but not the same stuff. Who knows what we'll be talking about. Catch you later.
Stuff and things.